Hey guys, Coach Rye from Team Flex here. Today we're going to be breaking down Arnold Classic Bikini. Okay, we're going to look at our top two competitors, Lauralie over here, you see it on the left, and then Maureen on the right. A lot of people watched the wellness video I did. Probably a bunch of you watching this now saw. If you didn't, check it out on the channel. We were talking about some placings and how a lot of people thought it might have been controversial, blah, blah, blah. And I got a bunch of response asking me to do bikini here because a lot of people apparently think the same thing. So for those of you that don't know, Maureen over here on the right, she's our Miss Bikini Olympia champion, okay? So she won the actual Olympia. And Lauralie, she won the Arnold last year, and she's won it this year. Again, she's not been Miss Olympia yet, but a lot of people think there's no way that Maureen, who's, the bikini champion, the current Miss Olympia, should have been able to lose to Lauralie. And so I want to kind of break that down for you all and just talk a bit about it, and also give you insight into the criteria and everything else, where we're going, where we're heading with this year's bikini. And let's dig in. Make sure you subscribe to my channel, by the way, folks. We got a lot of great content here. So first thing I want to start with is I just want to watch these routines individually. So let's look. Lauralie over here on the left, okay? She won the Arnold last year. She's coming back, winning it again this year. A lot of people don't really understand how, she beat Maureen, but here's what we're looking at. Right out the gate, I'm seeing a lot of really good shape, a lot of good stage presence here. The conditioning is right. The lines are not too hard. She has the right lines. She has fullness to the muscle, fullness to the glute there specifically. She's got the smiles going on, everything else. She's very attentive on stage to, the audience and everybody watching, everybody seeing this. Is basically getting the full feature here. It's supposed to be a lot of presentation in bikini, a lot of things, and you can see here very full in the glute ham tie, shoulders full, everything is there. We're going to go into the physiques more specifically in just a minute with some side-by-sides, but just to get the idea right out the gate, okay, I'm seeing a lot of really good posing here, a lot of good routine, overall just a very flowy, confident type of routine, which does make a difference, ladies and gents. It's not only just about, the actual muscle and the shape and the conditioning, the shreds, that you always hear people talk about. You really got to be able to present your physique, and you got to be able to have that stage presence and that confidence. Your whole look really comes together, especially in bikini division, okay? So let's now look over here at Maureen's routine. And I watched these right before I did this video as I was putting this together, and obviously I watched it live when it happened, and you can see out the gate, okay, the routine looks a little bit different, right? She's not smiling as much. She almost looks, like she doesn't have as much presence on stage. We're not even getting a real transition pose there. She's kind of just flowing through that, and she's into the back pose here. She has all the markers. She's got the glutes, she's got the tie-in, she's got the shoulders, everything physique-wise, but, the walk isn't very tight. Everything looks a little bit, more lackluster, if you will. It looks like she's maybe not brought her best presentation to the stage. It's hard to even get a lot of confidence out of this routine. I'm not sure if, what was going on with her that day, but this is not her best presentation at all, and, she's not as confident looking, smiling, doing all that as you would see, that Lauralie did. So that's interesting right there. I would say the posing was a little bit more, off for Maureen over Lauralie in that case. All right, now let's look side by side, because this is where we really get to look at the actual physique notes and kind of talk more and more about, specifically what judges want to see in this division, and also how Lauralie ended up picking up the win over Miss Bikini Olympia. Okay, so here's what we're looking at. So bikini, for all of you that watch my channel, you probably know we always do this. I always do these lines here. It's all about this hourglass shape, okay? Perfect symmetry, upper to lower, and this is what judges want to see all the way across in this division. You have to have that. That comes from muscles, and then you want to have conditioning, okay? Conditioning is a factor of leanness. You don't want to be shredded, striated, deep cuts, anything like that. You want to see these soft lines, okay? So that's the criteria. Let's review this now. Let's look at Lauralie. So right out, the first thing I'm going to talk about is the shoulders, okay? So she has good fullness to the shoulders, full development. This comes from training all three heads of that deltoid. So front, lateral, and rear delt we'll see from the back, but that fullness, that roundness is key and, a major factor in this division to create this width. Your almost upper base of your hourglass, okay? That you got to have that. That X-frame type look comes from having the shoulder development. Now, in bikini, the arms are not a huge focus, but judges want to see, some symmetrical stuff going on here. You don't want to get too developed to the point where it takes away from the division or anything like that, but that is something that judges want to see, is a little bit more of that symmetry. Bikini is basically all symmetry, upper to lower, left to right, okay? Now, what we get going down is a nice taper into the waist. This is what really creates this upper base judges are always looking for. She has this very well. She's really accentuated that by bringing in a very tiny waist with a lot of fullness to the shoulders, and she's got, her lats helping her sweep her down. Lower body now is where I see some big differences between these two competitors. We'll talk more in a second about Maureen, but you know, she's got a lot more fullness to the glute here, Lauralie does. She's got a lot more shape in general. That upper glute is definitely fully developed. Just overall, much more fullness to the glute, with better distinguishment between the hams and the glute. Okay, we're seeing, you know, that separation zone here. That's good. That's what judges want to see. And quads, you know, there's development here, but it's not overdone. It's not overdeveloped. It's exactly what judges want to see in bikini division. So already in this front pose, we're seeing a lot of key factors for you know, exactly why she won the Arnold, because it's, you know, pretty much the second biggest competition to the Olympia as far as like, okay, here's the criteria, here's what judges want to see. Let's look at Maureen real quick, okay? So she has all the same markers. She's got the small waist, she's got the width at the shoulders, she's got, you know, the lower body development, everything else coming together. But here's what I'm seeing, you know, is a lot different. Her conditioning is not as good as it could be. She looks a lot softer than she did Olympia, okay? I'm not even getting some soft lines here and here, which normally I would see. Very little in the abs at this point, a little bit at the shoulders, but you know, she's definitely coming softer here than Lauralie did. Lauralie's got a lot of those good markers of the cuts and the, you know, everything that judges want to see. It's not striations, it's not deep graininess of the muscle, but it's these soft lines, okay? Now, another area that Maureen kind of didn't really bring as much, I would say, is in the shoulders, okay? Shoulders are looking a little bit smaller here. Still have the shape, but overall just not as developed, not as much muscle, not as much of that kind of, you know, projection in your face to say, all right, there's some good width up top and we're narrowing down. And she could have brought a little bit more shoulder development in, I think, and it would have helped her. And this could have been something, maybe she didn't peak right, maybe she didn't pump up right. Maybe that's kind of why, you know, honestly, she was looking on stage a little bit like she wasn't into the routine as much or as confident. Maybe something went wrong on this day. You know, we'll probably never know. But okay, looking lower body now, this is where it's a big difference compared to Lauralie, okay? So she still has the development to the glutes and all that, but not as much, you know, fullness overall. There's not as much of that shape coming through. It's just not there, and we're not getting a ham tie view even at this point. And her quads, to me, almost look a little bit overpowering in this pose, okay? So it looks like, you know, her quad kind of pushed the limit. Glutes are kind of fading back a bit. Posterior chain kind of fading back. I mean, you look at these two side by side, very easy to see that, you know, Lauralie clearly is bringing home this pose for the most part, okay? So that's a big difference right there. And again, we're talking about just points off. We're talking about these top two athletes, right? Like, this could be down to the littlest of things, but I can see clearly here, you know, that's one of the ways that Lauralie definitely brought home that first place. Now let's look at this transition. This isn't even a scored pose per se, right? But it's just interesting to look at. I just want to look at it for 1 second to kind of bring home some of those markers I mentioned, okay? So let's just go side by side here. So look at Lauralie. We got a lot of fullness to that shoulder, a lot of shape there. And there's some of those soft lines I was mentioning, right? That conditioning factor. Over on Maureen, not as much of this, not as much of that fullness, not as much of the, even the, you know, the conditioning. We're not even getting as much of a soft line here. So conditioning was definitely off for her, in my opinion. I think that was a factor that played, but also like her pose is just not very good here. She never even landed into a real transition, whereas, you know, Lauralie, she's in the transition. She actually holds it a bit in the video before she transitions. Maureen more so just moved through it, and you can see that kind of stage presence is lacking at that point. When we look lower body, you can obviously see both athletes still have this glute development going on. This is good. This upper glute is good. All stuff that you got to have in bikini division. But again, you know, this is where I think Maureen's quads, they kind of overpowered her glutes a bit in this shot. And again, this could be down to posing, could be anything. When you look over at Lauralie, though, you're getting a lot more of just symmetry upper to lower. Bigger, you know, shoulders that are shaped, you know, this nice sweep effect from the back all the way into the glutes, the hamstrings, and everything here. It's not the same effect for Maureen because she didn't really land that pose. And again, this isn't a scored pose per se, but judges are always paying attention to presentation and everything. So from the back, this is where we can see clear winners. In a lot of these divisions, I say it all the time, you know, bodybuilding is one from the back. Bikini is one of these divisions. It's one from the back. Very, very much so. So again, all the same markers judges want to see, you know, that kind of symmetry upper to lower, everything there, creating that hourglass, a tapering at the waist, all there. But here's where Maureen did not, you know, beat Lauralie in this sense, was if you look at Maureen's shot here, you know, we got the roundness to the shoulders. This is all good. Good symmetry in the arms. This taper is good. Everything's here. The glutes look very, you know, they're flattened out in my opinion for some reason. For compared to what she was bringing at Olympia, maybe she did not bring a good peak in this show. I'm not 100% sure. I keep saying that, but like, it's got to be something that was off here. And the conditioning just isn't there. I'm almost losing the ham tie-in on her, which was much, much more prevalent at Olympia than it is here here at the Arnold. And here is where, again, I just think her muscle was just a little bit deflated looking. She looks less muscular. She looks, a little bit like she flattened out. Something didn't peak right. Something didn't happen right. She still got all the shape and all the markers, but she just didn't bring through that conditioning, which really could have helped her a lot. And if she had put more fullness into the muscles, definitely would have helped her. Because when you look over here at Lauralie, we're seeing, very full deltoids. Got a lot of fullness going on up here. The arms are full. They're matching. And we still got this good taper. And then, when you look at the glutes and the hamstrings and the lower body overall, this is where she destroyed Lauralie. Lauralie destroyed Maureen right there in this pose, okay? And it's because the glutes just very, very much more full. The upper glute is, very prevalent. Overall fullness. This tie-in is right on the money with conditioning and fullness. Everything's there. You can see the hamstrings lines. We're getting everything. We're getting even a little bit of quad from the back, which doesn't happen a lot in bikini, but this just shows how much muscle she's actually carrying here. And so really, it's important to note, ladies and gents watching this, coaches out there watching this, bikini is not just all about shreds, okay? You'll see that bikini is really about muscle. This is how you get these shapes. You don't get this type of shape, this type of look without anything. I know for a long time people thought bikini was like anybody could really do it if you could diet. No, that's not what this is anymore. Bikini is all about building muscle, getting the shape, and you only get this kind of look from actually training hard, building muscle, overall developing your physique. That's how you're going to get these shapes. And then you got to bring in the conditioning, of course, too. In bikini, it's not a super shredded conditioning, but you got to have the muscle. So honestly, I think that is where Lauralie edged out Maureen this competition. Maybe some posing things off for Maureen. Definitely could have been a little bit fuller in the physique. I think she kind of missed her peak, and she came in a little bit too soft for sure. So if you're watching this and you're wondering what you should be focusing on right now, it's April. We're still early in the season. Make sure you have built enough muscle before you go to stage. Don't even try to go compete in bikini unless you got the muscle that you need, the shape to the shoulders, the glutes, the everything. It's all got to be there. And if you need help with anything physique-wise, anybody watching, I do physique assessments where it's very much similar to what I just did. I review the criteria with you, and then I assess your pictures, your actual posing shots, everything, and go over for you areas of your improvement, timelines to make those timelines for prep, all that. We got a link in the bio for that if you want to check that out. And otherwise, I'm going to keep pumping these videos out. I'm going to keep helping you out with whatever I can. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you're following the channel. And if you got time, share this out for me. Share this with one person that you know that competes. Helps me a ton. I'm doing tons of free content for you guys. All right, thanks for watching. Coach Rye is out.